Hi, my name is David. I'm a biologist. I study dead birds in Singapore. Yes, birds are food motivated, right? So where there is food, they will come. Clearly not effective. In fact, the sparrows use the bird spikes as a perch point to look for food, right? It's an alternative. Glue traps. Now, what's the downside of glue traps?
Other stuff can get stuck also.
Not only that, it's horrific.
Yeah.
Have you seen an animal trapped in the glue trap before? They're screaming. Their feathers are dropping off and being ripped out of their body. It is inhumane, right? And it catches other birds, it catches lizards, it catches whatever, right? So effective, yes. Humane. And what kinds of optics does it also raise as well, right? Imagine it in a canteen. Yeah, and then it's like, you know, right? So it's important to think about solutions and problems in a holistic sense. Sometimes the image of doing something exceeds the actual doing of something, right? Or sometimes seeming to do something is more important than actually getting the job done. And we see this especially so in the realm of animal management. Right? Also the logistics of everything, you have to consider the cost, you have to consider whether or not miners have filled a kind of ecological role as well since the introduction. Right? There is this increasingly interesting argument amongst the biologists that the term invasive species and exotic species is a very loaded term. Yes, many invasive species do cause harm, but for ecosystems that have been heavily impacted or that have already that have had non-native species assimilate for a long time, getting rid of the non-native species might actually cause more harm than doing nothing. Right? Management. It's about knowing the factors that lead animals to behave in certain ways, right? And then to address these factors rather than just resort to knee-jerk reactions that involve shooting, killing, or very short-termist interventions. An ecosystem not just of other animals, but an ecosystem comprised of resources and opportunities, right? Only an understanding of how, say, biomass flows from one animal to another, the kinds of push and pull factors, the kinds of habitat provisions that each ecosystem contains, will it be possible to do intelligent management of an ecosystem? Is an intervention even necessary in the first place? Right? With sparrows, it's an even more interesting question. Aside from human areas, aside from, in fact, food centers, do you see sparrows anywhere else in Singapore? So the sparrow population is heavily dependent on humans. So then the question is this: what is the real problem here? Is it the bird or is it the food? The problem is the food. Tend to come from a very small number of individuals, and B, very specific phenomena that happen that isn't exactly very common. But you look at, for example, the chickens at Marymount in Sydney, when the AVA culled them a few years ago, right? Their initial problem was that, people were complaining about chickens. But when this was probed into, it turned out it was just like 2 or 3 people who were complaining. out of an estate of hundreds, maybe thousands of people, right? 2 or 3 people complained. And then I'm sure they must have complained many times. I think there were like 20 complaints. So basically 20 divided by 3 is about 6 complaints per person. So once every few months, they'll pick up the phone and complain, right? Is this enough to warrant a large intervention? Or is the solution then to educate, right? To mitigate at the source of the irritation, which is the person.